Have you ever heard about Backalley? No? Well, it's not the kind of map a competitive Counter-Strike player would tell you about. Because Backalley is an old map. Yet it did make a quick appearance in CSGO, but it had long been removed from CSGO before it transitioned into CS2, so chances are high that all you young'uns out there have never heard about Backalley, and this video is yet again grandpa telling about old times. Well, not too long ago, I was reminded of it. I was taking a shortcut through a back alley in downtown DC at night, when I heard a dog barking. And that must have unlocked a childhood memory of mine, because I immediately thought about the original Counter-Strike. Backalley, or CS Backalley, is a hostage rescue map from the early days of Counter-Strike, from a time when the bomb defuse mode was just invented. This map was incredibly atmospheric for its time and rather well designed. A rare combination for early Counter-Strike. Put yourself into the shoes of an early Counter-Strike player. It is 1999 and you have a low-resolution CRT screen and are playing on the family computer. And most maps you've played so far have a rather bad sense of scale, are kind of too dark to play normally, or are just plagued by the fact that they are made by inexperienced teenagers who can't rely on decades of mapping tutorials on the internet like today's level artists. Oh, and by the way, if you enjoy this nostalgia trip, be sure to press the like button and subscribe for future videos. When comparing Backalley to other maps of the era, which was Counter-Strike Beta 5, it becomes apparent that this was done by professionals. Professionals like Jamie McTaggart, who was at the time working for Barking Dog Studios. A crew of developers who are actually very influential in the history of Counter-Strike and will be the topic of a future video very soon. Even if you never heard of them, you probably have seen their calling card, this little Easter egg. The Pop Dog soda brand is probably one of the most famous Counter-Strike Easter eggs. It is of course a reference to Barking Dog Studios. But what made Backalley stand out? What made it so atmospheric? It was a standard hostage rescue map after all. Backalley takes place in a large American city. The custom texture palette transports this very well. When Backalley was released, most of the custom maps out there reused textures from Half-Life. A great example is the original Nuke, which is indeed very Half-Life-like. Other famous maps, like Inferno, reused textures from Team Fortress. So with a unique texture set, Backalley stood out. And the rather down-to-earth scenario, hostages taken in a city, made it relatable. A lot of early Counter-Strike maps took place in mountain gorges, as well as underground bunkers and labs, places that are rather fantastical to most people. In contrast, Backalley is very relatable, rather mundane even. Everyone knows a city and everyone knows that crime happens in cities. And when you and your team infiltrate the terrorists' holdout, you would hear the background noise of a busy street nearby and the occasional cat and dog barking at night. Just to circle back to the beginning of the video and my flashback in the DC Backalley. In Operation Vanguard, CSGO's 5th operation, Backalley got a lovely remake by ESCGrunt. To my dismay, he removed the prominent Pop Dog Easter eggs, but he made up for it by introducing a few good improvements. Layout changes, like replacing this ladder with a ramp and doing away with almost the entire upper floor and the main building's underground basement section. Maybe a bit too much simplification for my taste, but I understand why he did it. Winding corridors aren't really all too great for a competitive game like modern Counter-Strike. After the operation ended, Backalley was removed from CSGO, but you could still go download it off the workshop, and thanks to Bella Linz, you can still do that in Counter-Strike 2. They faithfully ported ESCGrunt's work to Source 2, so you can still check it out today, even the 1.6 version if you like. I'll link that in the video description down below. As many of you know, I'm helping out with level design for the Counter-Strike mod Classic Offensive. And since I'm a nostalgia freak and I love Backalley and ESCGrunt was kind enough to send me the map files, we are bringing Backalley to Classic Offensive. along with PopDog's other, more influential map. And of course, it's classic offensive, so welcome back, PopDog logo. Apart from a few visual changes and upgrades, it remains the same. We try to get closer to the style of old Counter-Strike, and also ground the map a bit deeper in the late 90s and early 2000s. I plopped down an old computer over here for good measure. And I think we hit the American city backalley vibe quite well. Not as detailed as real life or a modern engine would allow us to be, but I think this is nonetheless kind of pretty. I tried to incorporate more things that I saw in real life. I took a bunch of reference pictures of backалleys. And something I noticed is that a lot of buildings had just a lot of wires just bolted to the outside, and I tried to add this here as well. Source 1 doesn't allow quite as much detailing as Source 2, but I think we still upped it a little bit. And then again, Counter-Strike was never the most detailed game, as people say that too many details distract from the gameplay, and yeah, for competitive maps this is definitely true. One thing we had to bring back were these red doors. The original Counter-Strike version had red doors with windows, and the CSGO version did away with them. I think they are too iconic to leave out, so here they are back again. H-Grunt did an amazing job with this remake back in the day, so just adding a few more details here and there, replacing textures with more HD versions. An easy task, and it was really fun to work with this. I can't wait to play this with everyone. So, what do you think? Do you share my nostalgic views for old video game content like this? Do you also think that Backalley is a uniquely pretty map? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you are like me and really deeply into classic Counter-Strike, then I got a secret tip for you. Every Friday a bunch of dedicated fans meet up and play old Counter-Strike betas. I got a whole video on that, linked here in the end card. You may want to check that out. They're usually playing Counter-Strike 6.1, yeah, 6.1, not 1.6, the beta version. And yes, this is super old, but this does work on old hardware just as well as on modern hardware. So if you got Windows 2000 or Windows 10 or 11, doesn't matter, it's cross-compatible. You can be a mad lad and connect with a super old computer to the server. And play against people with modern hardware with a ball mouse. I did that, I got smoked. And then I tried to do the same thing with Counter-Strike 2 and got smoked even harder. CS2 is just better on a modern computer. Oh, and by the way, those names you see scrolling by right now, those are our supporters on Patreon. These lovely folks get to see our videos well before anyone else and have access to the supporter-only chat on Discord. A heartfelt thank you to these fine folks. So, see you guys next time. Until then, have a nice day, and as always, goodbye and guten Tag. Well, that was a good ending, wasn't it?